It's reputed to have been said by Michelangelo, when asked the question, Michael, how do you know how to carve these beautiful figures out of those lumps of marble? And he apparently replied, well, it's a simple process really. All I do is just chip off the excess. Now this is a real curious thing, and it's an amazing way to think and to cognize, simply because there's very, very deep, profound meaning in this. If you asked a composer, how do you compose this music? If you asked Schubert or Beethoven or Mozart, or even if you asked Lennon and McCartney, how do you compose? They wouldn't be able to tell you how. They just go, thoughts just come. I kind of hear tunes in my mind, or when I'm just playing the guitar, then something strikes a chord. And so when Michelangelo would look at a piece of stone, he would see exactly what he wanted from it, saying that it already was there because he had like a divine inspiration to be able to see a picture already on the canvas and to see a figure already within the stone. And so after months and months and months, then this beautiful figure would emerge. And people, they don't take credit for it. They don't go, oh, well, you know, I look at it like this and I look at it like this and I do all this sort of geometric measuring and this, that and the other. No. That's just far too complex for the human mind to get around, doing all these measurements for the whole of the body, to see that within this 3-dimension. There's something working through us, people, that is far over and above that. And it's this the divine insight and the divine inspiration. And I swear, there's so many people channeling. Probably we're all channeling in some shape or form, but obviously there's levels of this. Why I speak about this particular Michelangelo scenario now, because it all struck me. Well, it seems to me that the human being is kind of like that, inasmuch that if you, the viewer, you're looking on sites like mine and it's kind of like, I want the answers, I want the answers, I want the answers, I want to ascend and I want to be enlightened and I want to be awoken and I want to feel spiritual and I want all these nasty feelings to go away from my body. And so you think it is the process of the acquisition of knowledge, but it isn't really the acquisition of knowledge. It's the application of knowledge. And this is the greatest misconception that people have, you see, because they think just to learn, just to intellectualize certain information, then they know it. But they absolutely don't know it. Knowing it is when you apply it. Knowing it is when you absorb it, when you receive this information into your cells, every single cell of your body, when you carry that information around and then you act out the information. You cannot just read books and listen to videos and get this mind full of information. Picture this. If you look at, say, great scientists and philosophers and mathematicians and all this sort of thing, then there's not been so many that have been really, really spiritual. And so therefore, I think it would be fair to conclude that it isn't having a massive information in a practical sense. It's having an intuition. It's receiving the knowledge via your intuition, because intuition, it seems to me, is emitted from everything. And you have to have the right receptors to receive it. And when you receive this level of intuition about feeling somebody's vibration, feeling content in a certain region, having a notion in your mind what you want to do and what you want to achieve, where do these things come from? They're born out of your intuition. And so, getting back then to this Michelangelo thing, what I'm saying is that we don't need to acquire more facets. We've got to become, a better person, and we've got to learn to be more empathetic, and we've got to learn to be more caring, and we've got to learn to do this, and we've got to go on a course to do that, and we have to learn to meditate, to do this. Learn. The acquisition of all this stuff. What I'm saying is, people, that I don't think it's like that. I think that when we are born pure. And what happens is, we are born like this beautiful figure carved out of this piece of marble. We're born like that, only we end up gathering all of that surplus marble around us, which completely obscures the beautiful human being that we once were. So it's in reverse, isn't it? And so what I'm saying is, what we have to do, then we have to do like what Michelangelo and other sculptors do. We don't need to acquire any more stuff. We don't need really to learn any more stuff, because we have it all. Because every time we learn something, it's kind of like, yeah, I knew that. Somewhere deep down, I knew that. Why do I feel like I knew that stuff? Because when you receive this information, when it sits well with you, you feel, well, because it sat so well with me, therefore there must be a receiver already in my body. There must be this sort of blueprint already written in my body. And then when I receive this information, it sits so perfectly. Scientists talk about why is it that our brains have receptors for the DMT molecule. It's simply because throughout millennia we have been ingesting DMT, and so our bodies have evolved into being able to assimilate that. Now, that could be contested because, of course, that is based upon the human evolution, and we are dismissing the divine creation. But if it's divine creation, then the divine God of the universe, whatever it is, that created the receptors within us to receive this DMT for a very, very good reason. Yes. So, intuit the knowledge. When you feel it and know it to be right, then it has to be right for you. Out there's no right and there's no wrong, because it's all a subjective experience. The only right and wrong on this planet, as far as I'm concerned and you're concerned, is that which you intuit to be right, because that is the only real right and wrong that you can ever know. If you can't feel it, if you can't intuit it, then you're dead to that. You don't have the receivers. It's like psychopaths, that they are dead to the concept of, love and doing the right thing, aren't they? Because they can't feel it. That's why they're called psychopaths, because they don't have these receptors for human empathy. So what we should be desirous to do is to chip away all of the shit that we've gathered over all these years. From being born, a perfect soul, in a perfect bundle of perfection, getting trapped in this prison planet, with these institutions, with the constant propaganda and inculcation of all of the stuff that they use to control us. What we have to do now, instead of learning more and busying ourselves with all that, we've got to concentrate on getting rid of all that which we already have. Dismantling the programs, dismantling the receivers which have been receiving the hypnosis for all this time. When society inculcates on a hourly basis the same old stuff, keeps reiterating, it's just hypnosis. And so what we have to do, we have to realise this, and when we hear this stuff, we have to be conscious of it, and we have to close those avenues. And how we're going to close these avenues in the initial stages is that we do not watch any media whatsoever. Any mainstream media. You don't buy no newspapers, you don't buy no magazines, you don't watch no news and no mainstream television, because they're getting to you through every arena possible. When you don't think they are, oh, it's just a sitcom, it's just a comedy, they're getting to you because the writers are the people that own this joint. And so it's all propaganda, people. This is what we have to take on board. And so if you don't get involved in that, if you start your own learning process, which is deep introspection, feeling yourself and feeling the world and listening. When we start out, we're very, very eager to absorb all this information because it's all crazy, and we learn about the Illuminati, and we learn about aliens, and we learn about shapeshifters and lizards, and on and on and on and on, and the world's flat, and you know, all this stuff, and it proper fucks our heads up, doesn't it? You know, we just think, what the fuck is true? Eventually, we'll come back to the self, and we'll go, well, I feel true. My thoughts feel true. I often don't like my thoughts because I know that they are still being tweaked via this shit that's going on and this shit that's been implanted in my mind for many, many years. So what I have to do is I have to be calm. I have to become settled. I have to try to lose my fears. I have to introspect, not always thinking about that shit. Think about how you're feeling, why these thoughts are coming about. Where's your mind leading now? Can I have any jurisdiction over that? Can I stop it? How do I do that? People tell me about meditation. Let me try that. What other avenues can I try? More involvement with nature. I get out in nature whereby I don't hear any of these sounds from the towns and the cities, just natural sounds, just the beauty of the wind rustling through the trees and the birds and creatures of the ground, all this sort of thing. When you spend a great deal of time with the self and nature, which is basically the same thing, people, when you really start to understand this stuff, being in nature is very, very similar to being in a closed-eye meditation, because you are dwelling within the self. You are nature and nature is you. This is how it is. We have to stop thinking that that's nature down there and I'm here. It's not the case. And so when you immerse yourself into it more and more, then that's when you start to realise. And so, chipping away at all the excess stuff, all of our programs and all of our fears and all of our anxieties and all of our hypnosis and all of the bad habits that we've got, you know, smoking, drinking, eating shit food, what have you. You look at these things and you ask yourself, what can I chip away? Eating pizza, I'll chip that away. Eating burgers and fries, I'll chip that away. Drinking alcohol excessively, I'll chip that away. Smoking excessively, chip some of it away, chip all of it away. Within this body, there is a decent frame. If you're overweight, then you can chip that away, can't you? And you can regain your muscularity via exercise, you know, pumping a few weights and doing some cardiovascular exercises. And so you see then, we don't necessarily need to acquire a whole bunch of stuff to make us this perfect being. In here somewhere, we're already this perfect being. It's a case of we've got to get rid of the shit that's already sticking to us. That is the issue with the vast majority of people. Getting rid of the shit that they carry already, because we're all carrying mind viruses. We're all carrying literal viruses in the body, in the stomach, all in the intestines. We're riddled with it. We are, you know, for the better part, probably about 65% virus. We're just a conglomerate of tiny, tiny little creatures. And so what we need to do is we need to eradicate the ones that are not serving us. Lots of them serve us. They have a very, very valid purpose in the existence of this body. But there's many of them that don't. They crave salt, they crave sugar, they crave fat, and they grow and they fester within our system. And so we have to eradicate those. So chip away at all that stuff. So I thought I'd make this video for you because it's been an analogy, an illustration which I've been wanting to convey for some time, and so I think I've finally done it relatively successfully, with a beautiful backdrop, might I add, on a wonderful day in a beautiful environment. Have a great day, people.